Hey, this is Eric from GenXGlow.com. I'm here with the legendary DJ Dara from Planet of the Drums and Breakbeat Science. And it's the day after the show that he threw down here in Greensboro, North Carolina. So, how many people do you think were there? About 500?
I couldn't give you the exact number. It's somewhere between 3 and 5. I think I'd have to find out from Drew, but it was certainly enough people to have a good time. Well, I certainly had a good time anyway.
Yeah, it was a pretty close environment. Everybody was having a great time. It was going crazy. I know that you were just building up the crowd more and more and more, and you're throwing some rollers in there. It was awesome. Tell us a little bit about how you felt, and what kind of energy were you feeling off the crowd?
Well, I have a long history in North Carolina. I've been coming here since, 1996 or 97, so it's a long time. But I haven't been down here so much solo in recent years. I've been here with Planet of the Drums, obviously, but it was really nice and refreshing to be playing here solo again. It was also nice to get like 2 hours because I can play, I like to play a few old school things and stuff like that so people know. I understand there's a lot of people say got into this music in the last few years, but I also like to sort of let them know where it came from, show a little bit of the development of the music. But I just love being able to kind of play across the board, and I think you're given that opportunity. When you're given an hour set, it tends to be, okay, well, I have to go for maximum impact in this 1 hour, so it's like you have to try and, hit them heavy every tune. When you've got 2 hours, I hate to use the DJ cliche of taking people on a journey, but you know what I mean. It's like I do, yeah, exactly. I just like to try and mix up the genres a lot more, and also mix up the dates a lot. To be honest, a lot of people come up to me and say, "Oh, what's that tune?" I'm like, "Well, that tune's actually 10 years old." You know what I mean? It's like, tunes, if they're good enough, they can still sound fresh 10 years later. So I just try and throw a little bit of everything into the set.
Yeah, I took notice of that too, and it was awesome to get that vibe and see some of the young people that were just getting in, and this was like their first show, and it was great. So talking about history, give us a little background, where you're from, how you got started, why you fell into drum and bass. There's so many genres out there, and how did you pick that one and got into that?
Well, here's the point where I show my age. Actually, when I started DJing, there was no such thing as drum and bass. It hadn't been invented yet. It was back in like 1989, 1990. I lived in Dublin at the time. That's where I grew up, as you may have noticed by my accent. But I had a friend who moved to London, and he was listening to the pirate radio stations in London, and the whole rave thing was really kicking off over there at that point. And at that time, I was kind of listening to very sort of noisy industrial music like Throbbing Gristle and SPK and all these like really noisy bands. And I also listened to a lot of like sort of percussion music because I have a brother who's a professional drummer, so I used to listen to a lot of African music. And my friend sent me these tapes from pirate radio in London, and it was like first acid house and all that stuff. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh my god, this is the music for me. This has got everything I want. It's got the noise, it's got the repetitive percussive element. And from then on, it was just like, this is what I want to do. So I started DJing in around 1989. I started buying records, and everything was kind of mixed up at that point. It was like house and techno and breaks and everything. It was all one thing, and it was all just played together. Around 91, 92, the breakbeat thing started to split off a little bit. It started to get faster. Techno kind of went one way, and the breaks thing went the other way into jungle, and then into drum and bass. And that was always I always really liked the breakbeat element of music. I still like techno and house and stuff as well, but that was the thing that really appealed to me was the breakbeat. So that was the direction I kind of followed. In 1994, I moved to New York because my girlfriend told me to, as you do, exactly. I was in Ireland, I was DJing a bit at clubs, and I was working in a comic store, and we got green cards, and she was like, I want to move to New York, and I'm like, all right, let's go. So we moved to New York, and it was a very fortuitous thing, I guess, if you like that word. I went to school. That I moved there in 94 because it was literally right when the whole jungle thing was starting here, and I'd already been playing for a few years, so it really helped. I got my foot in the door right at the beginning, and the rest is kind of history. We started Breakbeat Science in 1996 in New York. Myself, I met up with DB when I was there in '94, and we became friends. And he always had this idea that he wanted to own or open a drum and bass store. And at that time, you know, it was a real risk because drum and bass was still so minuscule back in '96. And we were like, oh, well, you know, we had this offer of a space. Somebody wanted to give up their lease. And we were like, oh, well, let's just give it a shot. And you know, whatever, we're still going, whatever. We're only online right now, but we're still going, whatever time it is, 12, 13 years later. So, yeah, it's all worked out.
Nice. Well, it certainly sounds like a ride. So, you know, another thing that a lot of people talk about and something that you've held on to, you know, I noticed last night is, you know, you still play vinyl. Tell us a little bit about why you do that, why you think it's important, and let the masses know.
Well, for me, it's like I was a vinyl junkie before I was ever a DJ, you know what I mean? I was always obsessed with records, and, you know, before I was, you know, even when I was in the whole industrial phase and all that, and, you know, I think the first album I bought was The Police's first album when I was like 11, and, you know, I looked at it every day for like 3 weeks. I would just stare at this thing. And I always loved the tactile element, I love the artwork, I just love everything about vinyl. So for me, I just, you know, a lot of people say it's the music, not the medium, that's important. But to me, the medium is important as well. And I also, you know, even on a technical level, I honestly don't believe. And you know, this is a personal opinion, and people may argue with it. I just don't think that digital format sounds as good as analog. It really doesn't. It just doesn't have the same low end. Yeah, exactly. It's like I think that the digital format it's very clean and very clear and very bright, but it's missing something in the low end that you can only get from vinyl. And I also feel that, you know, I feel a certain responsibility as a record store owner and a record label owner that I need to set some sort of an example, because, you know, I just wouldn't feel right. It's like if we're putting out vinyl, how am I going to show up to a party and not play any vinyl? It's like, so I'm expecting people to buy something that I don't even use. You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And you know, I just prefer the format. I just like being able to touch vinyl. I like being able to see the grooves and see where breakdowns are and all that stuff. And it's just everything about it is just, it's, for me, I prefer it. And you know, it's I realize that technology doesn't go backwards, and you know, perhaps I am fighting a losing battle, but I'm still gonna, you know, I'm still gonna cling on there. I'm gonna fight tooth and nail and play as long as I can. Maybe I'll be like the guy who still has laser discs, or you know, whatever, or a Betamax video recorder or whatever. But you know, I'm still gonna do it as long as I can.